And so the Chicago Bears are on a bye this week, which is nice. I mean, I kind of want to keep the momentum going. You get on a 3-game winning streak. You want to keep that going. You want to keep that rolling. But at the same time, it's going to be nice to kind of enjoy a weekend. We'll have an Arsenal game on Saturday. My kids' soccer games on Saturday. And then I can just sit there and enjoy watching the Detroit Lions and Minnesota Vikings. And by the way, if you have not seen my prediction for that game on the NFL preview, you got to go check it out. I'm sure it's on my Twitter right now. So go check all that out. But we got a great show still, despite the fact that the Bears are on a bye week, because we're going to have Cynthia Freeland. So Juliana, why don't we go ahead and start the show?
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Adam Rank.
It's Hester trying to work it back to the middle. Gets past the first wave, and here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois, the sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome to the weekend edition of the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank. So thankful for you to be here. And it's one of those things that when your team is doing well, you can't help but want to talk about it. Like I'm walking around unsolicited telling people about Caleb Williams, at least living here in Southern California. So obviously if I was in Chicago, this would be a lot easier. But in Southern California, because of Caleb Williams going to USC, people still want to talk about it. And I'm happy to talk about it. The funniest part of it is, though, the trolls that want to come up to me and talk S all the time, like when Caleb was struggling for the first 2 weeks of the season, those parents at the pickup line no longer want to talk Caleb Williams. They will bring up Shohei Ohtani, but not Caleb Williams. But it's awesome. By the way, I'm so glad that I never got rid of my Shohei Ohtani cards. My daughter wanted me to, but I didn't. And speaking of sports cards, at Windy City Sports Cards, they specialize in buying and selling all things related to Chicago sports. Whether you are a diehard fan of the Bears, Bulls, White Sox, Blackhawks, or Sky, they've got you covered with an extensive selection of sports memorabilia and collectibles, in addition to their Chicago-focused items. They also offer a vast collection of sports trading cards and memorabilia from your favorite teams and players, even if it's Shohei Ohtani. And speaking of our favorites, joining the show right now, you know her from the NFL Network. And this season, she has launched a brand new show on YouTube called The Numbers Game with Cynthia Freeland. So please welcome to the show our absolute favorite, Cynthia Freeland. How are you this morning?
I just went to your Twitter about your prediction for Lions at Vikings.
I'm an idiot.
I'll let people see it for themselves, but it's good. It's funny. It's good.
You know what? I have to give credit to our producer, Sean Shoppy, who is great at what he does. He's actually the voiceover for all those videos. And he's like, hey, and so we kind of came up with he was the brains behind that. I got to give him credit for that. I'm like, oh my God. And the best part of that is that a lot of times he doesn't ask. He just will do it. Because he's gotten so used to me being like, of course I'm going to do this. Like, yeah, of course. But it's no problem. So yes, I did do that. How are you, Cynthia?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. How's the show going? Now, anybody who's watching us on YouTube, I implore you right now to go subscribe to The Numbers Game with Cynthia Freeland. Already over 5,000 subscriptions. That's amazing. You got to be very happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a one-man band here. So it's a little, I love it. And I'm just not like, I have a little editing help, but it's one of those things where it's like, you realize how much work goes into all this stuff and, like the one-man band stuff. So that, don't judge the production value.
Oh,
yet.
Stop it.
We're getting there. I'm getting there. But I just love the data. And there was, with no more TA and, just changes to our schedule in general, like they're just, to me, a really good opportunity to talk a little bit more about some of the numbers and some of the things that could go into informing who wins the game. So I just was like, I'll do it in under a half an hour, which it's hard to do in that time frame. But I'm working on it. This is getting better every time. That's the goal.
No, it's a great watch, and I'll tell you, like, listen, it's very difficult to do. It's just I'm thankful that I've got Sammy and Anello and Juliana and everybody behind the scenes here helping me out, because I know that there's a lot of work that goes into all that stuff. So you're doing a great job. I wanted to ask you though, before we get to Minnesota and Detroit, we'll do that when we start picking games. Caleb Williams.
Yep.
Now you've always been very level-headed about this, so you can't be shocked with how well he's played over the last couple of weeks. For Bears fans, I guess the one thing that we hear from everybody is like, well, you played the Panthers and you played the Jacksonville Jaguars. But he's gone out there and dominated them. It's not like he squeaked out these victories. What have you made out of Caleb Williams' last two starts?
Well, the first thing about the Panthers was I think they did a really smart thing with the offense and what they were architecting with. They could have just like run the football and with a lead just kind of patted it and, just kind of boringed it out for us. But instead, they kept doing some of those secondary level passes. So, when you adjust to the NFL, like nobody had a better trajectory of like not being asked to do hard stuff first than Dak Prescott. And look where that ended up with him, meaning he was not asked to throw deep. He was not asked to throw outside the numbers until he had seen some of the stuff inside and short. Well, now quarterbacks don't really get that opportunity. He had a different entrance to the NFL. Caleb was just like, let's go. So, it's just a little bit different, but I thought it was good that in that Panthers game specifically, they really let him work on some of the downfield stuff and seeing how, the defense, like, what are you seeing here? What's the check down? How does it all work? Or what's the deep threat? Like, how do you get to DJ Moore in that game specifically, et cetera? Like those deeper passes, it's not like automatic and easy, like those are things where it's better when you have a little bit of a chance to see what is the defense giving you? How can I take advantage of that? So I thought that was good. And then the Jags game, the same type of thing, right? Like we saw some of those secondary, like quarterbacking 200, right? Quarterbacking 100 is just the easy stuff. Quarterbacking 200 level stuff. And that's what you need to see. No one's going to, I don't care how good you are. No one's going to come out of the gate being able to read defenses at the NFL level. It's just like you have to adjust and adapt. And, it looks a little different with Jaden Daniels. Remember, he's also a totally different type of quarterback. So I think Caleb's doing great. I think he's doing great.
Who's better, Caleb or Jaden Daniels?
They're just different. I mean, let me see what happens once defenses start a specific game plan to stop Jaden Daniels, right? Like it's what we're seeing with CJ Stroud is where I refuse to say who's great until, we see what happens once defenses create game plans for a specific quarterback, and then we see how that quarterback adjusts, right? The trajectory can be great. You can even win Offensive Rookie of the Year, but until defenses start to say, this is how I'm attacking you, and then you adapt, then I don't know. Like, there's just not enough data yet. That's not a sexy answer, but not enough data yet.
I know. Listen, I got to ask. Everybody's already crowned one quarterback the best of the generation.
Don't do that. I mean, there's some things that you can make a fun, like, overstatement about, and then there's other things where like just don't do that. Like just wait, like let him have his career. Like he's doing great. Like pause. That's it. He's doing great. Period. Full stop. Done.
I mean, I love the throwback to the 80s because I know you weren't alive in this decade, but the Bears' rivals in the 80s were the 49ers and Washington. Those are the teams like my dad hated Washington. Like, and it's fun because he would really be loving this. That this rivalry is going to be renewed, especially next week, because the two teams are going to square off. But now you're kind of like, oh yeah, I forgot about now it's started it's like a muscle memory where something gets triggered where you're like, oh yeah, you know what? I remember how much my father hated Washington. I'll never forget because I was can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I think somebody turned on the AC here. I don't know what happened. In any event,
it's just what that studio needs, more coldness,
Oh yeah, well, this is why we're the best. But it's funny because when the Raiders smoked Washington in the Super Bowl, my dad was reacting like the Bears had won, and so I was like, I get it now. Years removed from there, and I remember how mad he was at Elway for blowing the Super Bowl in '87, and so it's fun. But it's fun to have these conversations. But you mentioned CJ Stroud, and it's funny because, and I know this from a fantasy perspective because I drafted a lot of CJ Stroud. He hasn't been great. Like he's been okay. He's a good player, but it's like, it's not like he's been great. Am I missing that, or am I just looking at it through a fantasy lens?
I mean, I think everything is relative. I mean, the first thing that's wrong with that team in general, that they have a lot more control over than other things being wrong, is how many penalties that they've had, right? Like this is the most penalized offense. They're constantly in 1st and 20, right? So you're going to look way worse than if you're just in manageable downs and distances. So if they can clean up some of the penalty stuff, especially, I mean, I think Laramie Tunsil had like, I don't know, like for the first 5 games, like 9 penalties alone, like some crazy number on just the left tackle, which is, that's just making it so hard on yourself and so hard to earn fantasy points. Cause I have a lot of CJ Stroud too. So, it's not that, so to me, it's not really CJ Stroud's fault, but it's also like something they can clean up easily. I think it'll help with Joe Mixon back in the mix, being able to kind of get those easy early down situations good, where you're not necessarily throwing on early downs. You can just kind of, it's not fun for, 4 yards on first down that's the way to do it. Right. But it's not hitting home runs. It's taking some singles and doubles to be able to set yourself up for success. So I think it'll look a little better, but if they could just get those penalties down, CJ Stroud would look a lot different from the eye, but he would also feel a lot different for your fantasy team.
No, absolutely. And it's been a little frustrating, I'm not going to lie. And I feel like a lot of it stems from the fact that he tried to sun Caleb Williams after their game. Like that is Caleb Williams, when you look at his numbers since that game, and everybody's like, wow, he was playing the Titans and the Texans. I'm like, no, it was CJ Stroud's attitude towards him. I took great offense to it. And I know when Greg Braggs was on their show, he was like, it's not that big a deal. I'm like, I'm offended because I like CJ Stroud. I know his uncle. I texted him after this moment.
His uncle? Like, CJ Stroud. That is so random. I love everything about that.
He's a stand-up comic from Rancho Cucamonga. And
what? Why am I just now learning this?
This is crazy. And he was giving me, it was so funny because I don't know how much I should tell, but CJ Stroud almost went to Utah, and Coach Whittingham had him in one of those Elite 8 program like things. Yeah. And then that's when he met Ryan Day. And then all of a sudden he's going to Ohio State. I'm like, oh, that had to suck. I got like the whole aspect of this. And so I remember when he was coming up and everything. And so, but again, I was like, the thing that was the most hilarious to me is like, okay, I know you had a good rookie season, CJ, but you're not one of these revered. You're not Patrick Mahomes. If Patrick Mahomes has got his hand on Caleb's shoulder, like, hey, young man, you're going to get through this. That's fine. Josh Allen, maybe Stafford, whatever. Kirk Cousins. Okay. That's about the list. That's where we ended. There's no other quarterback. I'm sure I'll think of 3 after I get done with this sentence. Was like, there's nobody out there. There's so many young quarterbacks. No, definitely not. Aaron Rodgers can go pound sand. Like go like I know that they are not bringing in MVS because if they lose this week, then they have we got to bring in MVS like to really complete the circle. They're going to be calling up Minnesota. Can we trade for Aaron Jones? Like when Breece Hall's traded straight up for Aaron Jones, we're going to know that they're cooking. What do you make of this? What do you make of the Devontae Adams thing?
There's something that we can't measure. We can't measure it with like
how much of a D Aaron Rodgers is.
I'm going to go with positive here. Like on Monday, fantasy is very fun because of our chemistry, right? And and we're happier when we're with people that we want to be with. So in general, when you're looking at the opportunity that Aaron Rodgers has on this team, I mean, bringing back his friend, that probably does give him the best chance to win. Do I think that it is Aaron Rodgers of years before and he looks great and blah, 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 blah? No, but I think, there's some like the happiness quotient is a big deal. And I think we're going to like, this is so set up. Like, tell me if you've heard the script before. Like Devontae Adams comes, he scores 3 touchdowns this week. And then we don't hear but then it's like totally silent after that. It's like boom, 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 nothing. Like, so, it's one of those things where I mean, and also listen, it's great for the Raiders. I'm looking at this I would like the Raiders to, in my lifetime, be good again, just because I love Antonio Pierce, but it's just more fun. I love that stadium. Their color scheme is fantastic. It's come on, just be good, So at least they now have some draft capital. Let's see if they make some good picks, but at least they have the draft capital now to be able to kind of get that going.
Yeah, that's very true. And it's funny because you mentioned all that about, I told a little story about the Raiders. When I was growing up, I think my dad would have been cool with it as a little kid if I had been drawn to the Raiders as opposed to the Rams. Because he always as an AFC, an AFC team you admire. He admired the Raiders. He would have been fine with my sister's a Raiders fan. And so I think he would have been cool with that. But I'm glad I came back into the fold with the Bears. But it's funny. And it's funny too. And now I feel bad for being mad at Aaron Rodgers. Because
Why?
I've been sitting. Well, no, because I've been trying to trade Florio for you on the Friday show. I've been trying to make that happen. I'm trying to pull the Aaron Rodgers. So I don't know if I have to go into a darkness retreat. But I'm always your
ayahuasca journey just needs to include some deep references to Colgate, and that's how you'll get it. Because Flo loves his alma mater.
Make that happen. Be Cynthia's right there. I know she's free on Fridays. Whatever. These aren't decisions I make, obviously, because I would have done it a lot different. But listen, that's a story for another day. And I'm also a little remiss that I don't get to do the Thursday pick'em game. Was it Game Day Pick'em?
Yeah, so it's called Game Day View. Everything's
Game
weird,
Day View.
But if that were on the whole thing, I'm not a scheduler. I leave that to the people who know what scheduling's about. But yes, you need to come pick games for sure. It's a fun show.
Well, we can do that here. As a matter of fact, Juliana, let's bring out the sick picks.
It's time for Sick Picks, brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois.
And I want to let you know that the world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is right at your fingertips in Illinois. The Circa Sports app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Illinois and experience high betting limits, better moneyline splits, more in-game betting, and the best customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Illinois. And if you or someone you may know has a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER or text ILGAMB to 833-234. I think Gordy's telling on himself. Gordy's I got a problem.
He's Mom, you need to make this call. There we go.
Mom,
I'm sorry. The two dogs right now. So Gordy and Clyde, they, for whatever reason this morning, we've had howling. We've had little chirp. They're wrestling. They're like Gronkowski brothers. I can't make them stop. So if anyone's a dog trainer out there, please let me know.
No. Those dogs are fine. There's nothing wrong with those dogs. They're having a good time.
There's loud.
There is something about dogs not annoying dogs going off, or children lightly playing, which is great. And we have things in our neighborhood sometimes where kids will be running around and you're okay, no big deal. When they break out Mr. Microphone 2 feet from your window when you're trying to record something, I feel like I should be able to be hey, please don't do that here. There's a lot of area over on the green belt.
We have these kids who they get on their e-bikes, and I ride an e-bike too. But they're this little e-bike gang, and they pop wheelies. And you know how when you're old, when you're please don't do that. I don't want to see you get hurt. And they're so loud. And I'm number one, it's too loud, and number two, so I am now the get off my lawn person because I'm don't do it in front of me. I don't want to see you hurt yourself. You're gonna need more protective gear if you're gonna do that.
Wear a helmet.
They wear a helmet, but I used to ride a dirt bike when I was little. It's not but I elbows, knees. I had a lot of stitches as a kid. I don't want them to. I don't want to see it. I just don't want to see it, and I don't want to hear it. That's for sure.
As a skateboarding kid, yeah, I get that. But let's pick some games.
Let's do it.
And we're going to start off with London. And I think I'm getting up for this one. Normally, I will just get up if the Bears are playing. If Arsenal's playing, no problem. Patriots, Jags, I'm debating, but I actually really like this game. I liked what we saw out of Drake May in his first start. 3 touchdown passes. First quarterback in NFL history who threw for 3 touchdown passes and led his team in rushing in his first start. The Patriots, I think, are underdogs in this one. I don't know how this stuff works. I'm just picking games. But I still think this is an opportunity for Jacksonville to get right.
Yeah. If they don't, I already think that there's going to be some massive changes in Jacksonville at some point this season. If they don't get right in this one, do they come back do they just get left in London? Does
another coach get fired in London?
I believe if they don't win this one in London, it's bad. But Tank Bigsby is good. Yeah. I love his rushing yards over expected, so 143 of them. This is a team in the Patriots. Their defense is so banged up and so full of question marks that even Gerard Mayo being we're gonna change the starters. I don't care. You can still run on them. They've allowed the 3rd most rushing yards over expected. It's 131. This is a good Tank Bigsby game for sure.
And I think that if Travis Etienne doesn't play, Dearness Johnson can also be picked up and used for people who are in a desperate need, because I think Jordan Mason might or might not play. So there's some other guys. And obviously, by the way, I meant to mention this before we went to the picks. DeAndre Swift was a player that you were on. I know we were both on, but I know you were on it specifically. DeAndre Swift this season. And it's been nice to see him get some work.
And everyone's like, "You're so wrong." Blah, 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 blah. And then I'm so right. Blah, 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 blah. Just kidding.
Look at me now. Look at me now. But are we both taking the Jags to win this game?
Yeah.
We're just picking winners. Listen,
I think the winners. I'm going to go to Garage Mahal right now and pick my winners. Put a list of my winners on the Garage Mahal wall. I love that Garage Mahal.
The Garage Mahal's the best. And
whoever came up with that needs extra money.
It was, I think it was Beverage Dave, who's in one of my fantasy leagues.
Beverage Dave Plus.
He's the vice president of Circa, which has included the D and the Golden Gate. And I'm bummed. There used to be this cable car that because there was a sketchy walk when you would go from the plaza to Main Street Station, and there was a train car that was on display, and you're like, oh, hustle through this walk because but now you can go from Plaza, Garage Mahal into Circa, walk out the back, go into the California, and then go over to Main Street Station if you need to go over there. But in any event,
all of it. I just want to go sit and watch. I just want to watch games floating in a little pool and see that giant screen. That was so. I watched baseball games on a random Tuesday once, and I was like, I'm so happy. This is so great. Floating in a pool. Every single baseball game. It was 5 million degrees in Vegas, but whatever. I was like, this is perfect.
I was cold. I was like, gosh, it's cold. And then I stepped out and I'm like, oh yeah, it's 40 degrees Celsius. And I was roasting. So we like the Jags though.
Yep.
One of the games that I'm looking forward to this weekend is the Seahawks against the Atlanta Falcons.
Yep.
Seattle was a team that I didn't really believe in coming into the season. I thought that they would end up being the last place team in the NFC West. They've kind of exceeded my expectations, but have stumbled a little bit. And the Falcons are 4-2. Who do you like in this one?
My math says Falcons. My gut says Seahawks. I think this is that. I'm deeply conflicted. Part of it is, look, the Bijan Robinson factor of, using him in ways that actually works. Who would have thought that would actually be good for them, right? Kirk Cousins has not shown me the mobility and reactive body language that we've seen before he got injured. So with Bijan Robinson running the football pretty efficiently and effectively, even Tyler Algier getting in on the action, that just leads to more opportunities. Even if Reek Woolen's back, even if, Byron Murphy's back, even if their defense does bring pieces back, I still think advantage Falcons offense in this one due to the stability from Bijan Robinson in the run game.
Yeah, I always lean towards, I want my early season predictions to be correct. So I'm going to go with the Falcons for that dumb reason. But I like what Kirk Cousins has done. Kyle Pitts is coming off games where he's had over 70 receiving yards in back-to-back contests. I think he's got a huge opportunity against the Seahawks in this one. So give me the Falcons. Are we anti-Bills now? Do we not like the Bills?
We like the Bills. We like the Bills.
Do we?
We do. Oh yeah, no. The reason I didn't do preseason with them isn't a negative one. It's a positive one. I mean, we
got Denver, so that was probably better.
Well, Denver. I mean, as far as organizations go, that thing is. I mean, the Penner Walton, the Walton Penners. They did holy like they give you sea bass. Like I'm sorry, I'm eating sea bass. Like that's incredible. Like it's a really it's just an incredible. And they have that horse that comes out. Thunder ahead of time. I really like that horse, and I like, and the trainer for the horse. Like, anyways, but no, they have a great Maddie Glab, who's their team reporter. She's been their team reporter for a long time. It was a great opportunity for her to get some more opportunity to grow a little bit more. So all good things. We still love our Bills family. And
do we love them this week? They're monster favorites.
Yeah, and Amari Cooper. I know the Devontae Adams trade is like more sexy and more like splashy, but I actually think this Amari Cooper trade could be the piece that puts them over the top. I mean, the Bills defense is just so banged up, and I keep saying the same thing, but eventually it'll start to punish them for having this many people in the spine of the defense changed out. The safety play is not what we're used to from the Bills. Like this is the spine of the defense is not what we're used to from the Bills. So if you have an increased ability to run, which they've had this year, and now you add in Amari Cooper taking a little bit more of the heat and pressure and making a little bit more space for them to run and use their tight ends, like that is just good news. And I think the Amari Cooper trade, especially people are like, well, what do you get from Amari Cooper? Well, you get one of the most consistent and reliable route runners, maybe like that I've seen in 10, and he's been in the league almost 10 years. Like he tops the league. He's not a burner. He's not like Xavier Worthy. He's not Tyreek Hill, but he is exactly where he needs to be, right when he needs to be there. And he can create separation doing that. So he's not slow. He's kind of over that threshold of being valuable there. So, don't look at his Browns stuff through the lens of fantasy. No. Look at it through the lens of he had like 473 yards off, like he should have caught based on what was expected of him, but it was just a crappy throw. So let's just say that Amari Cooper is great and can potentially add that extra element and wrinkle to get the Bills past whatever we thought they were going to be before.
Yeah, and I think they have too much here, and I know our producers love the Titans. And when we get done with the show, they're going to give us grief. Like, oh, you don't, Anello will be like, oh, you don't believe in the Titans, this guy. Sorry.
I think Tony Pollard's going to have a good game. Great.
Absolutely.
But Titans look like it's kind of a reboot. I'm proud of them for getting rid of Jamal Adams this week. Like if it ain't working, if he wants out, let him go. Let him go. You got L'Jarius Sneed. Your defense is really good. This is the best run stopping defense in the league. This is a team where that second half, like the pass catching ability, they have really improved this year. You just knew you were a couple steps away, right? Like it's not like it's not like it was a Super Bowl team that's like underachieved. This is a team that's rebuilding. It's all good. It's just the Bills are right now still a buzzsaw.
Yeah, and they're trying to figure out what they have with Will Levis. So I think it's probably the right move. Like I kind of equated it to when the Titans got rid of Marcus Mariota and they brought in Ryan Tannehill. And obviously all the Titan fans were like, oh, like I remember making the prediction that the Titans weren't going to be very good. And I was correct. And they ended up going to the AFC Championship game. And so they've tried to victory lap that forever. And I'm like, you guys are foolish if you thought that this team was that good because you're saying that Marcus Mariota was that good. You didn't think that Ryan Tannehill was going to be this good. But my point of it is the Ryan Tannehill thing actually set the franchise back a number of years. Because had Ryan Tannehill not had that success and gotten you to the AFC Championship game, you would have moved on from both quarterbacks after that season. But because you went to the AFC Championship, you're like, all right, well, let's see this through. Then you stumbled for a couple of years, and then you're like, okay, well, let's try Will Levis in the second round. That's still left to be determined, and still got some things.
Clyde does not want you to play Will Levis. Clyde was like, nope.
Clyde's like, no. Clyde wants to win now, and I understand when you're a fan, you want to see what you have.
Yeah.
You can make a definitive
choice. Smart. I also think they need to really figure out, like, they have the two pieces in place to have a really good O-line, meaning the head coach and the O-line coach. This is Callahan. Like, this is, I feel like there's like a Tommy Boy reference, whatever. There's like a, like a old 80s, 90s movie that we could reference. But I mean, look, like, there are not a lot when I'm starting my research and film watching for who's coming out in this draft. It is slim pickings along the O-line compared to normal. So, and that's always a hard one to begin with. So let's figure this out, get the right pieces in place, and figure out how to help. I mean, this is the only team where both running backs have negative yards before contact, that is an O-line stat. So it's figure the things out, build from the trenches, just like we've seen. You did a good job on the defense, A+. Now work on the offense this next offseason. Not a fun thing to say if you're a Titans fan who wants to win now. Clyde, clearly he wants to win now, but they're doing the right things.
Yeah, I think they're on the right path. I think they'll get there at some point. It might not be this season. What about the Bengals, though? The Bengals got a victory when they needed it, right? If I'm thinking correct. Yeah. Again, big favorites this week. I'm assuming we're both going with the Bengals here.
Yeah. I don't know if my model would ever pick a team that has a sub 20 third down conversion rate. And it's been that way. The Browns cannot get, it's 19%. And by the way, that's up from 18% last week. Woof. Like, that is not a good quotient, especially now you don't have Amari Cooper. The good news is I love Nick Chubb, and I think, that will help them out considerably. This guy he is so good and so exceptionally talented, especially against the Bengals defense. He could have, for fantasy, you're playing him. But anything else about this offense, I think, is very hard to get behind. Jedrick Wills, who used to be very good at this year, he's clearly banged up still. He's allowing such a high pressure rate. Trey Hendrickson's going to line up across from him. That's probably not going to go well. Like, Deshaun Watson's under pressure constantly, and it's just not working out. So sub 19% third down, I can't pick you. Sorry.
No, I'm with you. I'm taking the Bengals in that one. And whenever you mention Nick Chubb, I always think there's like some alternate timeline where the Patriots didn't take Sony Michel and took Nick Chubb instead, and Nick Chubb never gets hurt, and the Patriots are still good. But you know what? You make your picks, and you do what you do. All right, speaking of picks, Packers, Texans. The Packers, again, I don't know what these numbers mean, but normally home teams are -3. They're -2.5 in this one. Does that mean that people are liking the Titans a little bit more?
I mean,
or the Texans, excuse me.
I like the Texans. I'm looking at this game, and my model picks them to win even without the 2.5 point lead. What? Right. You don't know what these numbers mean. The Texans win this game. When I'm looking at the opportunity against the defense, people just focus in on, they've got 17 takeaways. It's most in the league, yada, yada, yada. Well, you know what? They also give up the most yak. And that is a big problem, especially when you have Joe Mixon back in the mix. Haha, that's my joke. And I told you about the penalties. They've had a minute to think about this. I'm trying to be funny these days, right?
Silly.
But you have Joe Mixon back to stabilize some of that a little bit. And if you were to take out the penalties and the penalty yardage from this team, I feel like we'd feel a lot differently about them. And I just think that the Packers defense, it's a good defense. They're taking the ball away, but turnovers are fickle. Like, yardage is not. Like, that is if you have to rely on a takeaway for your defense to be functional, and Xavier McKinney, hell yeah, good job. But it just makes it harder to win against more, truly top tier teams. So. Yeah,
I'm with you, and I'm taking the Texans as well.
Oh, good. Right. I love it when we're on the same side.
I always go against the Packers. Excuse me. Colts. I know. No. I really objectively feel like the Texans should win this one. Even in the preseason when I was picking games, I think this is an opportunity for where the Packers could be in a little bit of trouble in a matchup that really doesn't favor them at home. It's a weird situation for them, but I think the Texans are a better team, and we'll see it this weekend. Colts and Dolphins. This was never going to be a good game, but what about now? Like, who's quarterback? Who's this would have been a Tua versus Tony Richardson, and now we've got maybe Joe Flacco, maybe against Snoop Huntley. Like, what do we got going on here?
Snoop Huntley. Look, here are my notes. One, playing Devin Achane for sure. Devin Achane, yes, you're going to play him against this Colts run defense that whatever. And Coach McDee's had a week to think things through, even with Snoop. You feel a lot different about things when you have a minute to think about how they unfold, right? So
yeah,
I don't know why they're so rowdy. I'm sorry. But yeah, so I think that the Colts win this one. I think this is an ugly game. But the run quotient to me is just higher for the Colts overall, and their O-line's better. So O-line play, better ability to run the ball. I don't know what I'm getting from Anthony Richardson, but it can be up and down. And Colts win this game.
Eagles Giants. Nick Sirianni, really proud of himself when his team wins a squeaker against an opponent they should beat. I like the Eagles in this one, but I don't feel great about it.
No, I don't feel great about it either, especially considering, I don't know, that was so cringeworthy. Like when they kept showing that, I was like, oh God, I want to appoint myself a new role of like chief cringe officer, and like I'm throwing the flag. That is, don't do that. It's weird. Like, don't be weird. Just don't do anything. Don't bring your kids into it either. But look, I would feel better. Like this Giants team leads the league in sacks. They have 26. There's a lot of things to like along that defensive front. My problem is the O-line for the Eagles is still among the league's best. So that kind of nullifies where the strength of this Giants team lies. So, as much as I want to be like, yeah, upset here, blah, 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 weird cringe stuff doesn't pay off. But I don't think that the Giants can pull off another Seattle situation. I just don't think they have like the dynamic nature of running all over the spots where Jalen Carter doesn't occupy to be able to get this done.
I agree with you.
Kyle's,
so we'll go.
Kyle's my nephew. It's my nephew's first. This is gonna be my nephew's first football game, so that's gonna be it. Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
He's 6. He's excited. He's ready to go. He's told everyone he's going to the game. He's very excited. It's gonna be great.
I can't wait. He's gonna love it.
Yeah.
What are the Rams gonna love it this week against the Las Vegas Raiders? I always still almost say LA Raiders, but Las Vegas Raiders. The Rams are expected to cruise in this one. Is that what you're thinking?
My math has it. This is one where like the Ravens game where it's like they should be, there's always these few games where the Raiders manage to I think of last year on Christmas with the Chiefs, the Raiders managed to pull it together, but it's so, yeah. I love the stat this week about Aiden O'Connell, who hasn't had one single scramble yard, not one. And that is almost hard to do. Like, I don't know how that happens, but I think between Jared Verse and Braden Fisk up front, those pressures are just going to be really hard. And I don't know if Jacoby Myers is playing or not. So that puts a lot of pressure on Brock Bowers. And even though he's been electric and
Trey Tucker.
Sure. Trey Tucker, Brock Bowers. But is that scary compared to, I don't know, could we get Cooper Kupp back? By the way, I love that Cooper Kupp still leads the team in targets and he's tied for receptions. He hasn't played in several weeks. That's wild. That's a wild stat to me. But Kyron Williams, I just think his ability to run on this team is going to prevail. Yeah,
I can't wait. I was thinking about going to that one, but then I'll back out at the last minute, like I always do. You get too comfortable at home.
To be fair, it's a mess, the traffic. So I get it. I'm not a big traffic person.
Yeah. If I was already here, I would do it, but probably not. Commanders.
You're like, no. If I was already here, maybe, but probably not.
Maybe, yeah. Commanders, big favorites over the Carolina Panthers. Could the Commanders be looking ahead to the Bears? I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see any way they lose this one.
The thing that I'm looking for in this game is I really want to see someone other. I love Terry McLaurin, don't get me wrong, but I think that if I'm Cliff Kingsbury and I'm game planning this, I'm trying to figure out who my number 2 option is other than Zach Ertz. So, because there are going to be games like the Bears where it's harder. So I think we put in some wrinkles and folds to make it look a little different in this one and try to see how adapting and challenging different different receivers to step. I mean, De'Ami Brown, no, but like I don't know, right? Like, but I think they try to put in some new stuff here to take it to the next level, because the tricks are great. The tricks have been working really great, but at some point the defenses get harder, and you got to add new tricks to your bag of tricks.
If the Bears want to just sit there and put Jalen Johnson on the side of the field that Jaden Daniels loves, it could be an issue. And you know what? When you think about the big trades that went down this weekend or this week, I know Mike Williams is available. I'm curious if Jerry Jeudy is available. Maybe you ask the Panthers just to leave Deontay Johnson before they get out of town. They need to make a move in the next couple of days, because if they're serious about going to the playoffs this year, they do need another threat besides Terry McLaurin.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling, he's MVS, out there, doesn't have a home. MVS is homeless. There we go. We got it.
Oh, he's at Aaron Rodgers' house too. 49ers. Oh, let's do the Jets. Jets and Steelers.
Jets
the Steelers were like, hey, we're 4-2 with Justin Fields. We're benching you.
Jets win this one. Jets win this one. I've seen this game. I've seen this game script before too many times. So this is like I told you, Devontae Adams, a couple touchdowns. Like this is a Jets win this game. And then, Garrett Wilson's going to feel sad and left out. So he's going to get him 1-2. Like this is a Jets. They look, oh God, they're back. We have a whole nother week of talking about this. And then,
right.
And then everyone's gonna be like, oh, should they have switched from Justin Fields to Russell Wilson? Blah, blah, blah. But we do get to hear whatever Russell Wilson's new line is. Let's ride moves to what? Like,
it's like steel, hot steel. I don't know. Blades of steel. I don't know. We'll workshop that one for I don't hate Russell Wilson.
I don't
really
Russell
like
Wilson
him
either. I hate his taglines.
But he doesn't help us out all the time. Oh my God. The Bears got saved by Seattle being like, we're not going to trade him. Oh, that could have been terrible for us. I'm so happy the way things have worked out. The 49ers, though, have not been happy with the way things have worked out when they've had big leads against the Kansas City Chiefs. Do they beat the Chiefs finally? No.
I think that this is a lying liar who lies situation. I don't think Kyle Shanahan is telling us that about, I think they call him JD Mason, Jordan Mason, whatever. Yeah. I don't know if he's okay. I do think George Kittle has another big game because the Chiefs have a deficiency to the tight end position. And George Kittle's been awesome, but I'm a little concerned here without JD Mason. If you're looking at Brock Purdy this year, it's weird because the lowest percentage in the league of yak is coming from his passing yards, which is usually Kyle Shanahan is like, I'm all about the yak, baby. But monster. It's weird.
Yeah, that is strange.
Who do you have winning in that one?
I ended up going with the Chiefs. Just, it's a feeling that I got. Like Ravens Bucks, though. What about Ravens Bucks? I don't know if people do stuff about if you're scoring as many points as a number that we set out for you. I think it's going to be larger than whatever that possible number could be. Both of these defenses, the Ravens defense, I mean, your muscle memory says Ravens defense, I should be worried. But the teams are scoring on them. The Bucks can't stop anybody. I think that the Buccaneers lead the NFL in points, total points. I think the Ravens are number 2. I think this is going to be a huge one.
The way that you say that, Rank, I've learned over the years is this is a great one to target in fantasy for everyone playing because so many points are going to be scored by both teams.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, listen, glad I could finally teach you something after all these years. I'm worried about Mike Evans tweaking himself in practice on a Thursday. I don't know what that means. So if he's not playing, like an even more massive game for Cade Otton, probably a little bit more for Chris Godwin's already right up there with number ones. This is not this is going to be a points fest. And I'm interested to see, even if Baker Mayfield doesn't start off last week, we saw him throw 3 picks and then throw almost 5 touchdowns. I mean, I think that 5th one should have counted, but whatever. But yeah, it doesn't even matter. They're just slanging it and they're figuring things out. They're not worried. They're playing pretty free. And I love that, all Bucks fans think that they're getting we're not talking about them enough. I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
You're not talking about the Bucks enough. That's all we talk about. The Bucks. We love the Bucks. We're pro Bucks.
We love the Bucks. We love the Bucks for sure.
We do. We do love them. The Cardinals, we don't love as much. The former Southsiders, but they got the LA Chargers. And last week, I thought I was stunned that the Chargers were the favorites over the Broncos. I did not think that was right. Turns out everybody else was correct. Broncos.
Well, it
Broncos
also helps
country
that
and I
Pat
were wrong.
Surtain wasn't playing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Still,
you lose that. That's big. Yeah, no, we were wrong. We were wrong.
a fervent rally by Bo Nix. And of course, Bo Nix and everybody won on Thursday night. So that was cool to see back on the winning side there. Chargers, Cardinals. Where are we going?
I kind of hate it, but the Chargers. I have the Chargers in this one. I mean, the only reason I hate it is because I just feel like the Cardinals, they started off in a place where their offense felt more than what they are right now. I mean, obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. probably being out the concussion is like not going to help, but like, I just feel like Kyler Murray's too good to be in this spot, but their defense is what it is. So, I mean, I'm looking at this game and I'm saying I could see the Cardinals upsetting them, but I think the Chargers win this game in part because there's no pressure put on the quarterback, and Justin Herbert now, when he doesn't have any pressure, now that you have all these different run looks and a better O-line that's gotten healthier, a little healthier. Even Ladd McConkey's like come to play now. And I love a good Ladd
McConkey. Love Ladd McConkey in this one.
Laddie.
That's a Greg Roman special. As much as they love to run the football, they love the slot receiver.
They love the slot receiver.
Los Angeles too. In Los Angeles too. El Segundo. What an error. This is a team. I always get in trouble whenever I say bad things about the Chargers. It's like you were in Orange County. You could have honed in on Orange County, Riverside County, trying to take over those markets, kind of like the Angels do. The Angels are content, although Artie Moreno has different ideas, with being like, we're the team of Orange County and Riverside. Fine. That's a huge market. It's bigger than Milwaukee. You know what I'm saying? But
if you've never been to Southern California, Orange County is ridiculously gorgeous. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, why wouldn't you like that is a destination, right? Like that is an incredible, and not to say that LA isn't great. LA is more spotty, like I live about as far south in LA as you can get, close to Orange County, if you will.
Outside of Long Beach, which is nice. But yeah, I knew where a lot of the players, I didn't know their address, but there was a lot of guys who lived in Huntington Beach, a lot of them that lived in Newport Coach where Kobe lived. But in any event, go Chargers, I guess. I don't know. Okay, I know you got to leave soon. Shoot, I'm so sorry. Vikings, Lions. Let's get. I'm glad I almost just set this ahead 10 minutes. I'm like, I'm gonna give us a full thing. I'm so sorry that I keep you here so long. The fans demand it.
I love hanging out with you.
The fans demand it.
The fans.
It's not me.
I love hanging out with you. I'll always come hang out with you.
Listen, don't say stuff like that, because then you're going to be regular. Then you're going to be on every week.
I'd happily be on whenever.
No, you wouldn't be.
Yes, listen. You know I love you. Like I can almost never speak on Fantasy Live because you make me laugh so damn hard that by the time we come back from commercial break, I'm just like there's no words left because I've just laughed for 3 straight minutes.
The Chamberlain thing was out of hand. That was. See, those are the things, and I can't even explain to you. To the audience, I should say, like just the dumb, because my references are always like, just they're random.
Hilarious.
Not what you say. Like think of a tall person, and I know a lot of people right now are thinking of tall people. Not one of you thought of Wilt Chamberlain. That's who my example was, and she's like, of all the people in the world, like her producer.
Love, like the random way that your brain works. Like of all the people there are billions of people you could have referenced. You went with Wilt Chamberlain,
Wilt Chamberlain. I'm trying to make a connection between Wilt Chamberlain and the Great Lakes.
Wilt Chamberlain is tall, so is Calvin Johnson.
Well, Wilt Chamberlain played for the Lakers, which originated in Minnesota, which
there
leads us to our game of the week. The Minnesota Vikings and Detroit Lions. Again, go to my Twitter feed. You will see my prediction. If you're a Bears fan, you're going to love it. What are we thinking for this one? I know that you're a Lions person. and I know that you're not biased like me. I will say this because I know Clay Harbor put this out there where he was talking and like, hey, which one of these NFC North teams do you not believe in? And a lot of people were talking about the Vikings, and I'm like, they've beaten the Packers, the Texans, and the 49ers. I think the Vikings are for real. What about this one though? Because I thought last week Bob Johnson.
This is my personal hell. This is my personal hell because Aiden Hutchinson being out is a nightmare. My math
sucks.
This is why this is my personal help, because as a Lions fan, I am trained to like think the worst and like just be happy for like any win that ever happens. Well, my math picked the Lions by 1 point, which I hate. I mean, because usually it's better for me if my math picks the Vikings, because then I win either way. You know what I mean?
Right.
But my personal help, and part of it is because of the run game, meaning Aaron Jones. That I don't know if it's, I can only, as an outsider, I can only do coding with what I'm given. And the fact that they went out and got Cam Akers, and the fact that we haven't really heard much about, what's going on with Aaron Jones, and the fact that Kevin O'Connell comes from the lying liar who lies, tree of lying liar who liesness, like that is, he's a Shanahan guy for people who don't know what I'm talking about.
Obviously.
But, I'm worried that him not playing is going to change, because you saw the difference between Sam Darnold with a healthy Aaron Jones and Sam Darnold without. And I know they've had a week to figure it out, and I understand that helps, but I'm not suggesting the Lions are world beaters when it comes to bringing pressure, because they weren't even with Aiden Hutchinson. What I am saying is they're really good at playing man defense, and their principles of man defense, is that going to be the man that Sam Darnold just carved up, or is it going to be the man that like the Jets had, where Sam Darnold struggled against the Jets man defense? So my model just puts the fact that the Lions can more likely run the ball. This is hell for me. More likely and more favorably run the ball consistently, which means ball control, which means more control over the game, more opportunities to use more of your playbook. That's where I come out on this, but it is slim margins. And by the way, if Carlton Davis somehow doesn't play, it would probably swing. Yeah.
It's interesting too, because like, I think all the teams in the NFC North are so fascinating because they all match up in such different ways.
Yep.
And I think the Lions match up better against the Vikings, where the Lions do not match up well against the Bears at all.
No, they do not.
We saw that play out
Listen,
last year.
I don't want to talk about that yet, sir. We're not that. We got.
I know. But no. But what I'm saying is like, I think that you can believe that the Vikings are for real. Yep. I don't think they're a fluke. They're going to be there till the bitter end. They're not a fluke. But you can still say that you think the Lions are going to win this game, because I think the matchup.
Both things can be true, right? Like the Vikings are not a fluke, but this is matchup makes for fights, right? Like this 100%. Is not a good matchup for them. And they've got a lot of answers against the type of blitz that my guy Brian Flores brings. So unfortunately for my gut and my heart, like I'd rather my math have picked the freaking Vikings than I'd just be happy if the Lions won,
Well, that's the thing too, is it's very easy to make the case for the Vikings, but I do believe it's going to be, I'm picking the Lions.
What?
Yeah, I have to. Oh, this
makes me so much happier, because you're like a really good picker. So
this is a Lion. This is set up for the Lions, and again, I think that different teams match up against different. That's why I was saying, and I also want to caution Bears fans, like don't run to Twitter after this game and start talking S on the Vikings, because but you can run to Twitter and
be like, Packers smackers. You have to say something stupid.
Let's just,
this is fun, all like this. When the Texans win, you'd be like, Packers are smackers.
Yeah, let's focus in on that. Yeah, let's just go make fun of the Packers when they lose. And what's funny too, because like, when I do some of my hits, and I'm doing my hit for Rogers Sportsnet in Canada, and they're like, hey, rank the teams in the NFC North. And I'm like, okay, well, number 4 is the Packers. And they're like, oh, okay. I'm like, hey, who is the only team in the division that has lost a conference game, a divisional game? It's the Packers. So that's it. And our editor, our original content editor, Ali Bonpuri, who is a Bears person,
huge Bears
is
fan.
like, he's like, that's very shady. I'm like, it's not shady. It is exactly the truth. Like, I'm just saying there's one team in this division that's lost a game to another NFC North team, and it's the Packers. That puts you in last place. If you were doing tiebreaker,
that we have to agree, like we can come together as all 4 fan bases and be like, hey guys, NFC North, we're good. We're the best division
Pretty
in
good.
football.
I think it's a 19-game winning streak at the moment.
I mean, it's like the only one since the merger or Super Bowl era that's all four teams have 4 wins at this point in the season. It's the margin of victory. Like, as of right now, we can come together.
Smoking teams. That's right. That's the thing too. Like somebody, it was funny. I was listening to somebody on the radio, and they were doing their train of thought, because the Vikings and the Lions, if they're not the top 2, they're amongst the top 3 in point differential.
Yes.
And then the guy was like, he's like, oh my God, he's like, the Bears are here. Like the Bears are in the top 10 as well. I'm like, yeah, Bears have been killing some teams.
Yeah.
In recent weeks.
I mean, we're good in the North. Come on. You all thought it would be the AFC North. Ha ha ha. NFC North, baby.
Yeah, suck it, NFC North. No, or AFC North, I should say. But it's been there it is. So we're taking the Lions. There you go. Those are the sick picks presented by Circa Sports Illinois. I want to thank all our friends over at Circa Sports. Great outfit, great entertainment.
Love
the new
Circa
show.
Sports.
Oh, me too. And the new show is the Numbers Game with Cynthia Freeland. I hope we have more people subscribing. Like whoever, our subscription numbers should eventually match, because I want everybody who's on this show to go out there and follow that show. You're a big part of this, and I know that every time that we bring you on, the fans absolutely love it. I love it personally as well. This is a lot of fun. This is what we should be doing on Fridays for another network, but whatever. We don't make those decisions, but we control what we do here, which is why we love having you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And I mean, listen, have a fun show without me on that other network.
I won't. I'll be miserable. Watch
Tell the
it.
Apollos I said hi.
Oh yeah, they're watching right now.
Hi,
Mark,
Apollo
I'm
brother.
sure I'll get a text from him. But listen, that'll do it here for us here today. So for Cynthia, I'm Adam. Bear down, and Juliana, go ahead and play us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcast. Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois.